Okay, let's go ahead and call the Millcreek Township General Authority meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, do we have any public comment on any of the agenda items? No? No public comment? Okay, if not, we'll move forward with the approval of minutes. First minutes are the regular minutes from October 10th of 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 10th.
So moved by Ms. Claire.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Any questions or discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Bach, if you can hear us?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Clear?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the minutes of October 10th are approved. Second set of minutes are the special meeting minutes from October 27th. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the
So
special
moved by Ms. Mitchell,
meeting minutes.
And I'll second.
second by Ms. Clear. Any questions or corrections? If not, we'll vote on those minutes. Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
Ms. Clear?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so those minutes are approved as well. Okay, moving on to the financial report. Mr. Zaszewski.
Yes, there hasn't been a whole bunch of activities since the last meeting, but we had $7 worth of interest. We paid legal bills of just under $6,100, $268 for advertising. I believe that was the ad for the demolition bid ad. And then property maintenance, which comprise utility bills, water and electric, I believe, for the properties that still have service to them. There was no purchasing of any capital assets, so pretty simple.
Thank you. Yep, seems pretty standard. Do we have a motion to approve the payment of bills?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Olet
And I'll second.
and second by Ms. Clear. Any other questions or discussion? If not, we'll vote on the motion. Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Mr. Bach? If you can hear us?
Yes.
Ms. Clear?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the bills are approved to be paid. Moving on to item 7, communications. Executive Director's report, Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Yeah, I just have a few items to share. One, kind of along the lines of Mark's financial report. We did, in the interim between the meetings, receive a renewal notice for our insurance for the authority. I believe that Attorney Shaw shared that with all of the board members. The total amount of that renewal was $3,245. I did exercise my authority as executive director to go ahead and approve that because it needed to be in place by last Friday, November 10th. It was between meetings, but wanted to notify that, notify the board of that, and notify the public. Next, just an update on the demolition contract. We did, as you recall at our special meeting, award the contract to Empire Demolition for a total contract amount of $242,000. We have sent the contract to Empire. They did return the contract signed along with their required bid and payment bonds and their certificate of insurance. I was informed today that they did apply for demolition permits, so they are moving forward. And that leads me to my last item, which is we are in the process of preparing the NPDES permit that's required. It's basically for erosion and sedimentation control for the demolition. Part of the contract that, the bid documents and then the contract that we put out was that that would be prepared in-house by us and then provided to the contractor to implement. We expect to be submitting that tomorrow, that application tomorrow for the DEP to review. As soon as they review and approve that plan, then the contractor should, we should be able to have a pre-job meeting and then give the contractor notice to proceed.
Great, thank you. Any questions on the Executive Director report? No comments?
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you,
Okay,
Matt.
thank you, appreciate it. Okay, moving on to solicitor report, Mr. Shaw.
Nothing to report on.
Nothing to
my
report? Okay. Another record meeting so far. All right, agenda item number 8 is citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens that would like to come forward to say anything? Yep.
Hello, my name is Melissa Labritz. It's Labritz, and this is my son Kai. We live at 236 Forest Drive, Erie, PA 16505. I'm 43 years old, and I am originally from Pittsburgh, just moved here 1 year ago with my family. First, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity for me to speak. I'm a natural rebel. It's in my nature to ask, why are they doing this? What is the motivation behind this? Who is doing this? And how is this going to be done? Then I go back and research details. I was the first person to oppose stay-at-home orders, although I was already staying at home before somebody told me to do it, and vaccine mandates just because someone told me to do it. I'm now fully vaccinated and the mother of a full-time Pennsylvania cyber charter school student. I, like most others, opposed the Gateway District project at first. I then did my research and read the 71-page Prescal Gateway District project plan under the Planning and Development tab on Millcreek Township website. Millcreek Township General Authority, you have my blessing with the plan. Kim Clear, I think you're doing a great job being a leader. It's not easy to defend what one thinks is correct. I think you are leading the township in a good way. If anyone was to go to a tourist destination that was already redeveloped and thriving, I bet not one person would say, this would look a lot better if it wasn't here. Investment is hard. People lose money, people gain money, and things change. Farmers have been making money on the land since the beginning of the United States. Lands change and people find new ways to make money and communicate. I believe the Gateway District project is worth the investment. We need to think of the future of Millcreek Township when we are not here and our grandchildren. Places that thrive encourage new growth and attract new beings. Prescal Gateway project is not just an investment in Millcreek Township, Erie County, but it is investment in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which is an investment in the United States. I believe Erie County is already a worldwide destination, but we can be a residential, travel, and cultural hub, a place that people want to visit and stay, as outlined in the Gateway District project, the Riviera of the Northeast. I have lived in Hollywood, California, and I've worked in Burbank. This reminds me of the Grove in Los Angeles, a thriving shopping residential community spot with a farmer's market in the center. We have a great opportunity right here in our own community. We need to be optimistic, let the leaders lead, be open to transformation, and trust the process. Los Angeles County, California, Hollywood, California, used to be a farmer's land. I also believe that we should lower the speed limit on 26th Street to 25 miles per hour and make a Main Street type setting there in that location for people to take in the sights and shop without getting rear-ended. Thank you.
Thank you very much appreciate those comments. That's how, majority of this board feels and the reason why we're looking into it. So thank you. Those are very thoughtful and well-received comments by the board. Thank you. Okay. Any other citizens to be heard? John? Yes.
I think you, unfortunately or fortunately, all know who I am. I think it was at last meeting or a couple meetings ago, I asked, and I know it's great, the hard work you guys are putting into 8th Street, but that's your focus for the Gateway, but I also asked about, has anyone asked or spoken to about Kmart Property? And are you trying to take care of other, walk and chew gum at the same time, and how that's coming along?
I have been keeping an eye. I've been following the events in Harbor Creek. There has not been a whole lot of public action that's been taken yet. I know that they are working on demolishing that building. I still don't know how they've accomplished that. I believe that they're working through the developer, or I'm sorry, the owner, to do so. So I have not forgotten about it. I am keeping tabs. I do check regularly for meeting minutes and things. So yeah, that is something that's still on my radar, and I'm still chewing on that gum.
Because, I mean, you know, it's good that 8th Street's being redeveloped or attempting, but there's still other parts and property and that, I mean, and not to sound cynical, but we can't turn everything into a smoke shop in Erie. I mean, a lot of empty buildings I've noticed have turned into tobacco places. That's not, it's not a good thing either, I think, but.
Dennis, I can speak as well on this. I spoke with Greg Rubino from Passport Realty a few weeks ago, and I did, in our conversation, something that I did mention to him was, let me know what we can do in Millcreek Township to help facilitate the sale of that property or the rehabilitation of that property. You know, economic development it doesn't happen quickly, and it does take investment, and I think we're trying to, you know, bite off some chunks here and there while also trying to run a township and keep the roads,
Yes,
you know, redone and free of snow, and also the parks and communications and recycling. And
Right. Yeah, no, I know there's lots to
but
do.
yeah, there's.
I understand that.
But but you know, and I think that this is where private-public partnership comes into play.
Right.
You know, how can we facilitate and help, you know, some of the realty companies that exist here in Millcreek Township? What can we do? And I think, you know, conversations need to be had.
Right.
And continued. But I did reach out.
I just want, especially considering they, you know, I thought maybe the timing would help facilitate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't obviously want to, you know, 10, 15 years sitting empty and while you're focusing on one thing.
Yeah.
Miss the opportunity maybe of an inside track if Harbor Creek maybe knows someone that knows someone, or, you know,
No, very good comments. We
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning to speak, but I just had to say something about the citizens, to rebut this citizen statement. I understand that she's entitled to her opinion. But just to be on the record, that I think most people were upset in the manner at which this was done and with the means it was done, because it was done with public funds, and it was done, public did not really sufficiently know anything that was going on until after all these deals were negotiated. And therein lies the problem. And I also wonder how you managed to get on this board 4 people that basically have groupthink, think alike, and Mr. Bach, who is the only opposition. And the fact that Mr. Bach won re-election means that the public is not totally behind this, because you must admit that probably it was a referendum, since many Democrats won in Erie County this particular race, but Mr. Bach stood out as being the only Republican that won, and he was the only one who happened to not just totally go along with everything that you've done. So I'm wondering, is this board going to continue to be a 4-to-1 majority throughout all this? Or do you plan on maybe putting some members on the board that could be more beneficial to the project?
I mean, we objectively, every motion that's presented to this committee, we objectively vote. You know, we don't vote as a team, so everybody votes individually.
Well, I understand that, but you come across as being a cohesive, united front with Mr. Bach being the only opposition.
That's your opinion.
Are you saying that's my imagination?
That's your opinion. Like I said, every motion that is presented, every one of us makes an individual
Well, I
decision.
think, can you understand that if you had a different mix of people, maybe some that were more fiscally responsible to the taxpayer, that you might get different outcomes on these votes?
Again, it's kind of a hypothetical question, but it's not my, you know, I don't have a good answer for you, you know.
Well, what is the plan for the board? Is it just to continue with these same 5 people? Are you the only one that's allowed to
We have, I believe, we have terms, correct? We have
When
specific
did the
terms.
terms end?
That's,
Yeah, the terms are listed in the bylaws, and it is actually the Board of Supervisors that appoint the members of the authority. So the authority members themselves, don't appoint themselves. It would be up to the.
So who chose you?
township
Who
supervisors.
approached you who are not supervisors? Who approached you to ask you to be on the board?
as Mr. Waldner said, it was a decision made by the supervisors.
Who approached you? I doubt seriously if Mr. Bach said, I think we should have Dave and Cheryl be on the board. I doubt it was him. So who did put this board together? Did you, Mr. Walken?
It was not me. The board was appointed by the supervisors. I believe it was a unanimous 3-0 vote as to who the membership of the board was. That happened last October, I believe, at the supervisors meeting. I'd have to go back and look at the minutes to see, all the details. But yeah, I believe it was a unanimous vote to appoint the membership of the board.
So you see nothing wrong with the way you're going about this to overpay for those properties?
Again, you've been opposed to the project from the beginning, which we respect and we understand.
I'm not opposed to the project.
Yeah.
I'm opposed to the way you're doing the project.
Okay, you've made that very clear. We appreciate that. We take everything under advisement and make the best decision we can depending on the issues. So,
All right, thank you.
yep, thank you. Okay. Any other citizen comments? John?
Well, I think everybody knows who I am here and knows where I stand on the matter, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. The question I have is regarding the Belair. And I understand, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, that the demolition bid is only for the old portion of it out back. So I guess there is a plan of some type to salvage the main part of the building, the reception hall, and there are some rooms, and I believe there's a swimming pool in there. And you're gonna market that? Is that, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Matt.
Oh, it has not been ruled out. One of the main reasons that the properties that are going to be demolished were chosen had to do with the amount of funding that we had. and
Right.
Packaging it that way. Obviously, the Belair would be a larger job. It would require more money, so
Of course.
we weren't able to get there. We are going to take the time, while it's still up, to make sure that, to review it, see if there is any potential reuse. I mean, it is very rough inside. I have been inside multiple times.
Yeah.
They did pretty much gut it when they had the liquidation sale, so there
Right.
is not a whole lot left in there. But as long as it is still up, we will do an evaluation and then decide,
Okay.
prior to any further demolition, whether that would be demolished
Okay.
or portions saved.
Okay. I guess if there's any one particular point I'd like to make, and that is my former career before being a supervisor here, I was a building inspector. And, of course, the argument that I had all along was that those buildings did not meet the definition of blight. And if a planning commission were to have a blight declaration of those properties, the only one that may have failed, possibly, that I think would have been the Manor Motel. The Belair is far from blighted, and I think if that ever went to litigation, I would be on the side of whoever it was that was fighting that blight. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, and I don't want to get into that sort of mud. What I really want to know is if there's not a plan to market this property, is there a plan that the township has to repurpose this building for something or another? Is there something like that on the radar? I mean, this is the thing where some sort of plan would have been very helpful and for all of us, and to understand just what is going on. What is the intention here? It's a sizable investment, sizable purchase that is, and that has a lot of people in the uproar, and I can see why, but I can also see that if there's some sort of revitalization, repurposing, something like that, okay, sometimes you have to say goodbye to some things. And we may not always agree on that there. And you heard me here this morning talking about the golf course. I think it's time to get rid of that. Although one of my former fellow supervisors thinks that, no, we don't do that. So, I mean, everybody's going to have an opinion on it. I guess I'm just going to throw that question out. I don't know if you folks can answer that question for me. Dave,
Yeah, I mean, John, we really can't answer it. As Matt
Right.
said, you know,
Right.
we're investigating everything. I mean, we're
Okay, I
taking
get it.
all
Yeah,
these
I get it. And,
comments under.
right, and if I could
Evaluate
answer
the
something for Mrs. Shea, Dave Zimmerman was on our sewer authority for many years.
Right.
You were an experienced authority member there. And of course, you know, Cheryl, you're from Erie Insurance, right? Okay, you're retired from Erie Insurance, is that correct? Yeah. So I guess if there's anything that the Board of Supervisors, and I don't know, is Jim listening in on this? He is. Revisit the membership and, you know, as far as the ordinance, just a suggestion. Redo the membership makeup. Because on many boards, any authorities, you can have an elected official on it. We had done that with the Water Authority. And if you remember now, that caused a big hullabaloo, you know, when Rick Figaski was put on there. And it caused a lot of hard feelings because it was made up of all residents and citizens, no elected officials. So if you could revisit that, and that might restore some trust with the public, okay? And I know that's something that I'm hearing a lot of chiming about, is that, you know, there's a lack of trust. I'm going to call it what it is. So if you could revisit this matter of who is going to be on the authority, how many elected officials. That's just a suggestion. I'm not your legal counsel. Mark Shaw is, and he does a good job at doing that there. So maybe he can advise you and tell you that maybe Grow doesn't know what he's talking about or something like that. So.
Never, John.
Anyway, thank you for the
Yeah,
time.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it.
No, we appreciate your comments, and
Yep.
again, everything that's said, we consider everything and try to make the best decision, so. Again, as you eloquently said, I mean, it isn't, when you're doing something transformational, it is very difficult, and there is opposition, and I think healthy discussion both ways is good, not to have your, you know, your feet dug in the sand, and you know, we are listening, whether it appears that we're listening to everybody or not. Well, I can tell you that we are, so thank you again for everybody's comments. Appreciate that. Okay, any other citizens that would like to be heard?
Since
We'll-
we're
we'll get-
discussing, is that okay if I
Sure.
come up and discuss?
Sure.
Melissa Libritz,
Yep.
from Pittsburgh, McKees Rocks, actually. I see things for a different perspective because I haven't lived here my whole life, and I've lived in large cities my whole life. So I understand where the people that have lived there their whole life are coming from, but I've also seen my grandfather's house that I lived in for 75 years that I just sold to move up here. I've seen the neighborhood decline from a thriving community to a crime. I couldn't even walk down the street with my son, McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh. It used to be beautiful when my grandparents were there. And if there's not something to draw outsiders to the place where you live, and there's nothing here, there's no industry, your town will turn into that. You will have like the Rust Belt. Erie is no exception. And you have a beautiful lake here. You have a beautiful setting. Pennsylvania makes all kinds of movies. Pittsburgh has movie studios. We're making more movies in Pittsburgh than when I was in Hollywood. You have an opportunity here that people need to see, to say, I want to live there and, you know, spend my money there. And it's not just how it was. You have to look at the future. And I had to dig deep. I'm a full-time mother. I'm not, you know, sitting at home thinking about the world from my son's perspective. But I have to. And I don't want, I would hate to see Erie County, this most beautiful place besides the snow, but you get used to it. I had one bad winter, my first one, and I said, no, I just got to buy more warm clothes. People will get used to it. It's summertimes make up for it. There's not a cloud in the sky for 4 months. In Pittsburgh, it's cloudy all year round. The winters aren't as bad, but you know, you do one winter in Erie, and then you want to stay because the summers make up for it. But there's just so much potential here. You know, it's tough. It's hard to spend money. It's hard to change, and you have to look at the big picture, though. Everybody, I'm sure, would appreciate it when it's all finished. And you know, This isn't my role, but I had to say something because I haven't seen anybody say anything good since I've been watching this on YouTube for the last 6 months. And there is people out there that are rooting for Millcreek and want to see what you have happen. And I wasn't one of them at first, and I'm
Yep.
being totally honest because that's my nature. Anytime the government tells me, I'm like, no, absolutely not.
Right.
But then it's to go back and read the fine print, what it is to say that's a good investment. I'm not a leader, I'm not in charge, but I support you. What can I, just like the saying, like, what can I do for my country, not what can they do for me? And I really believe that. And my support is what I can offer because I'm not a leader, and there's bigger people in the world that are making decisions. And I'm not doing any good by saying we shouldn't do this. Got to go with the flow. And
Appreciate that. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Yep, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? If not, we're going to move on. I think what I'd like to do is we do need to have an executive session to discuss personnel and real estate matter. No action is expected to be taken, but I think we'd like to adjourn first so nobody has to wait around, and then we'll go into executive session. So if I can have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and move into executive session.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Roulette,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Clear. Why don't we go ahead and vote? Mr. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Bach,
Yes.
Ms. Clear,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes.
I vote yes, and meeting is adjourned, and we will go into executive session. Thanks for your attention and participation. Appreciate it.